to be speaking to the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, in the next few minutes or so. Kat is here to take us through some of the sport around on this Tuesday morning. And
on today, when QPR and Millwall meet, what happens next and how do the fans behave from here?
Kat, thank you very much indeed.
It's 7:35. Let's return to our top story this morning because just over about an hour ago, 90-year-old Maggie Keenan became the first person in the world to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine out.
Matt Hancock joins us now. Morning to you, Mr. Hancock. I imagine you probably feel the same way.
Yes. Good morning. I feel really emotional. I'm watching those pictures of Margaret getting vaccinated, and you know, it looks such a small thing with the needle in her upper arm. It was very straightforward and over in seconds, but it's such an important moment in beating this disease. And we've all had such a tough 2020. Everybody touched by this virus, and this marks the route out. We've still got a long march ahead of us, but this marks the route out.
So a wonderful moment, and you know, we're watching pictures of Maggie getting her injection right now in hospital in Coventry. It's great to see those pictures, but we have to look ahead, don't we? And we have to ask the question. So today is a wonderful moment.
Margaret get her jab, and then the next person, a gentleman called William Shakespeare. But I'm also really determined that as a country we've got to stick together whilst we get through these final months, because this virus is still deadly, and we've got to stick by the rules even whilst we roll out the vaccine. Yeah. So we've still got a long way to go on this march. We've got to keep our resolve for the next few months, but yeah, we all can see that we have a route out, and we can get back to normal by the spring, I hope, certainly by the summer, but we've still got to stick at it for now.
Okay, let's break that down a little bit, shall we?
Well, we've got 800,000 doses in the country, and we've got more being delivered next week. We've got millions of doses we expect to arrive before the end of the year, but we're not putting an exact figure on that, because the manufacturing process itself is difficult. You know, this vaccine is not just a compound that you can make, it's a biological product, and so that is itself a difficult process. The job of the NHS is to be ready to vaccinate at whatever speed the manufacturers can produce it. So the direct answer to your question is millions by the end of the year, but we're not putting an exact figure on it, because there are so many uncertainties still. And that, I suppose, underlines how important it is that people stick to the rules so that we don't spread this virus in the meantime, whilst we get this life-saving vaccine into the arms of millions of people.
There are two things, aren't there, now that I guess you...
Well, you put it really simply, but it's unbelievably complicated in practice. So the supply chain of getting the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine in from Belgium has worked smoothly, and we have contingencies in case that there's logistical challenges for whatever reason, to make sure that we can keep that supply coming in. And in fact, we've got 5 different options of how to get it in, according to whatever logistical challenges may be faced. And then actually the bigger logistical challenge is within the NHS. Once the vaccine is delivered into the UK, it then goes to the 4 NHS NHSs in the 4 different nations, and is delivered by the NHS. And that is a huge challenge of the logistics, because it has to be stored at -70, but it's also a huge challenge for the NHS workforce to make sure we have enough vaccinators. You know, I think it's worth us all paying thanks in advance to the hard work that they're going to have to do over this winter, and that logistical challenge of calling the right people and making sure that they then get their second appointment at the right moment, and that we get to all those who need it. The biggest operation in NHS history. The reason that we can't do it from today is that the way that we get the vaccine physically to the care homes itself needs to be safe and secure.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that that is therefore approved by the regulator. That isn't some sort of bureaucratic exercise. It's checking that the process of getting the vaccine to the care home is done in a safe way. These are fragile. It's fragile stuff. So I absolutely hope to be starting that before Christmas. And we're working with the regulator, which is the UK regulator, to make sure that that can be done safely and securely.
Okay. Do you have any idea yet, or any?
Well, there's only one that can deliver before April of next year, and that one is the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Their data is currently being assessed by the MHRA to understand its efficacy and the safety of that data and of their clinical trials. So we very much hope that that will get approval, but that is absolutely a matter for the MHRA, and I won't put any pressure on them one way or the other. And we hope that to come through in the next couple of weeks. As with the vaccine that we've got, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, the majority of any rollout will be in the first few months of next year, first couple of months of next year. And so, clearly we're giving them all the support that they need to get that over the line and approved, but it has to be a decision for the independent MHRA, who will only approve it if it is safe to use and effective. So that work's underway, and I wouldn't expect anything for the next couple of weeks.
And how are you going to communicate?
Well, I think you're doing a pretty brilliant job of communicating the vaccine to the general public, and I've had so many messages this morning from people who are watching your program who like me are just feeling this huge sense of relief, really, more than anything, that finally this is happening and we're on our way out of this pandemic. Absolutely, we'll update with figures for how many people have been vaccinated. I'm very keen to make sure that we do that as things are delivered on the ground. We're cautious about the numbers that are coming because of that manufacturing process being uncertain. But in terms of how many people have been vaccinated, absolutely we'll be releasing figures about that, because that itself is important in knowing how soon we can get on to releasing the restrictions, because it's a question of how soon we've managed to protect those who are most vulnerable to the disease. And this is all for a purpose, this vaccination. It's to allow us to get life back to normal and to do the things that we love, and to remove some of the damaging consequences of what we've had to do to protect people during this pandemic.
Mr. Hancock, thank you for your very kind comments about our programme. I'm delighted so many of your friends are.
Well, again, that is one of the things that is still uncertain. And the reason it's uncertain is because we know that this vaccine protects the person who's been vaccinated. So when Margaret gets her second dose in 21 days' time, from 28 days' time, so a week after the second dose, she will be protected from coronavirus. And obviously that's brilliant for Margaret. What we don't yet know is the degree to which the vaccine reduces the chance of Margaret passing it on, the disease on asymptomatically. Now, we think that transmission risk, as it's called, is much reduced by being vaccinated, but we need to watch that. So actually what we'll watch for the removal of the restrictions are the same data that we look at all of the time. The number of people who are getting cases, who are catching the disease and test positive, the number of people who end up in hospital, and of course the number of people who sadly die from coronavirus, and the proportion who test positive. These are the same 5 indicators that we look at the moment. What we hope is that the vaccine program, by protecting people, will sharply begin to reduce the number of people who end up in hospital, and of course the number of people who die. And at that point we'll be able to start to lift the restrictions. But we can't know that until we've got enough people vaccinated that we can see the impact on our hospitals for people who die from coronavirus. So, again, I come back to this mixed emotion that I feel, absolute relief and elation that we've got the vaccine going, and real pride in our country that we've managed to get to this point and be the first in the world to have this approved vaccine, but also really determined that we stick by the rules and we stick at it for these last few months. We can see the route out, but we've got to get there, and we've still got to march down that path together and stick at it over the months to come to keep people safe.
Matt Hancock, Health Secretary, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And we were hearing, weren't we, that the first person to receive the vaccine in the UK, in fact, this Pfizer vaccine anywhere in the world, was Maggie Keenan, who was 90 years old. It's her 91st birthday next week. And the Health Secretary was also telling us that, bizarrely, the second person to receive that vaccine was a fella called William Shakespeare. There he is, from Warwickshire. I think he might have stolen some of the headlines away from Maggie because of the nature of his name. I'm not sure whether there's any sort of direct descent to the bard himself, but how magnificently British that the second person to receive the vaccine in the UK is called William Shakespeare, and he's from Warwickshire.
That's great, isn't it? Yeah, two real moments this morning on this programme. Just to see Maggie get the vaccine, see the second person there getting the vaccine too.
And the Health Secretary is telling us a bit about the rollout in terms of what happens from that point onwards. The other name that you saw there was Matron May, who actually, May Parsons, who administered that vaccine to Maggie and also to William Shakespeare. I'm sure there's going to be a lot written and a lot said about them over the next few days.
Correct. It is 10 to 8. Let's go to Carol. She has a full weather forecast for us. Morning, Carol. Oh, lovely. Do stay with us. The headlines are coming right up.
Nothing brings us together more than the small screen in the BBC4 and iPlayer.